1 minute ago, Diddy admit paid $1 to kill. Tupac Keefe D's confession changes everything. For over 3 decades, Sean Diddy Combs reigned as one of the most powerful and charismatic figures in global entertainment. From Harlem's streets to the glittering towers of Wall Street, he wasn't just a music mogul, he was an empire. But behind the image of polished suits, platinum plaques, and brotherly mantras, like "Love a Darker" narrative has emerged, one involving conspiracy, manipulation, and death. In recent months, Diddy's empire has been unraveling at shocking speed. Once hailed as a trailblazer who helped bring hip-hop into the mainstream, he's now at the center of multiple criminal and civil investigations, including serious allegations involving orchestrated murder plots, sexual violence, and organized abuse of power. But how did this celebrated figure, the man who helped launch the careers of the notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige and Usher, become the alleged architect of some of the darkest scandals in modern entertainment? Born in 1969 in Harlem, Sean Combs started from humble beginnings. He interned at Uptown Records in the late 1980s and quickly rose through the ranks, eventually founding his own label, Bad Boy Records, in 1993. It was here that Combs found Christopher Wallace, better known as the notorious B.I.G., and helped elevate him into a global icon. Under Combs' leadership, Bad Boy Records became a cultural phenomenon. He wasn't just producing hits, he was reshaping black identity in the 1990s, fusing high fashion, high art, and hardcore street music into a marketable lifestyle. Puff Daddy, as he was then known, was everywhere in music videos, television, fashion, runways, and political campaigns. But early whispers already questioned his motives. Was his influence truly rooted in artistry, or was it a dangerous addiction to control and attention? The 1997 murder of Biggie Smalls, his best friend, protege, and flagship artist, was a national tragedy. Diddy, who was in the car behind Biggie when he was gunned down in Los Angeles, released the now famous tribute, "I'll Be Missing You." It topped charts and earned him Grammy Awards. But even then, some in the industry whispered, was this mourning or masterful branding? Diddy's career exploded after Biggie's death. His debut album, No Way Out, sold millions. Suddenly, the man who lost everything was gaining more than ever before. Critics began to ask, did Diddy leverage his friend's death to further his own fame? Former insiders now allege that Biggie had been planning to leave Bad Boy Records before his death. Could this have played a role in the fatal events that unfolded that night? Combs cultivated an image of brother love, a benevolent spiritual leader who wanted to uplift black voices. But ex-staffers, former artists, and bodyguards now paint a much more sinister portrait. According to John Deal, Biggie's former bodyguard, Diddy was hyper-controlling, obsessed with being in every shot, on every magazine cover, every red carpet. Being around him was like living in a circus, Deal said. And Diddy was always the ringmaster. Former Bad Boy artists allege that Combs exploited them financially, trapping them in long-term contracts, taking publishing rights, and using threats to ensure silence. When Diddy recently made headlines for offering to return artist royalties, it was revealed he had attached ironclad non-disclosure agreements, banning them from ever speaking about him publicly. So was this generosity or a desperate legal move? In 2023, singer Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former girlfriend of over a decade, filed a bombshell lawsuit alleging a decade-long pattern of physical abuse, sexual coercion, and human trafficking. The case was quietly settled just 24 hours after it became public, but it opened the floodgates. More women, men, and ex-colleagues began to come forward. Allegations surfaced of Diddy threatening to bomb a car, assaulting former employees, and even orchestrating revenge campaigns. One former employee simply said, "When you crossed him, you disappeared." Could Cassie's bravery have opened the door to decades of hidden abuse finally being brought into the light? While Biggie's death brought Combs fame, Tupac Shakur's murder in 1996 is now being tied back to him in even more direct ways. In 2023, a former Crips gang member, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, was arrested for allegedly ordering the hit on Tupac. During interrogation and in multiple interviews before his arrest, Davis directly implicated Sean Combs, stating that Diddy offered $1 million to have Tupac and Death Row CEO Suge Knight killed. Davis claims that Combs backed out of the deal, but the hit was already in motion. Tupac was shot 4 times in Las Vegas and died 6 days later. Authorities long claimed the case was cold, but Davis's detailed confessions have reignited the fire. Now, Tupac's family has hired high-powered attorney Alex Spiro to investigate Combs' involvement. Is it coincidence that both of hip-hop's greatest voices, Tupac and Biggie, were silenced at the height of their careers, while Diddy walked away richer every time? To many, Diddy symbolized opportunity and success for Black America. He launched Black brands. He threw the first televised all-black fashion show. He was embraced by Obama-era progressives and hip-hop's elite. But now a reckoning is underway. Former labelmate Freddie P. publicly called out the hypocrisy, saying, "All I did was tell my story. Why does that make me the enemy of the culture?" As more allegations surface, from industry blackballing to illegal surveillance to violent threats, the myth of brother love is crumbling, and that leaves the biggest question of all: was Diddy ever the genius we thought, or just the last man standing in a house built on silent secrets and blood? In the golden era of 1990s hip-hop, Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, the notorious B.I.G., were more than rap legends, they were friends. But within just a few years, the pair went from sharing stages to trading death threats and diss tracks, culminating in a cycle of violence that ended with both artists murdered still in their 20s. Behind the scenes, however, many allege that the true orchestrator of the chaos wasn't either rapper but the man in the middle, Sean Diddy Combs. Long before headlines screamed East Coast versus West Coast, Tupac and Biggie were collaborators and companions. Tupac, already a star on the West Coast, would let Biggie crash at his L.A. home. He even invited Biggie on stage, mentoring him at the early stages of his career. By all accounts, their relationship was real. But everything shifted the moment Tupac was shot, 5 times in the lobby of Quad Recording Studios in New York City on November 30th, 1994. What was supposed to be a routine studio session turned into a violent ambush. Tupac survived, but felt deeply betrayed. Why? Because Bad Boy Records' top artists, including Biggie, were upstairs when the attack happened. Tupac believed they knew, or at the very least could have warned him. The official narrative was that Tupac was the victim of a botched robbery. But the intensity of the shooting, 5 bullets, including one to the head, suggested something more personal. What made things worse? Just weeks later, Biggie released Who Shot Ya, a song Tupac took as a taunt. The lyrics didn't mention Tupac by name, but the timing and tone were chilling. East Coast bad boys, who shot ya? Separate the weak from the obsolete. Why would Biggie, who allegedly had no part in the shooting, release a song that seemed to mock a recovering friend? Some say he didn't choose to. According to Gene Deal, a former Bad Boy bodyguard, the track had been shelved because of its violent tone. But once Tupac was shot, Diddy allegedly pushed for its release, knowing it would ignite controversy and boost sales. Was it a marketing tactic, or a move to solidify Bad Boy's dominance by humiliating Tupac? Industry insiders later described Diddy as obsessed with Tupac. According to former security staff, he copied Tupac's fashion, mimicked his charisma, and even pursued the same women Tupac dated, including Kim Porter and Sarah Chapman. This goes beyond admiration. Psychologists call it retroactive jealousy, or identity mimicking, where a person tries to become their rival by acquiring everything the rival has. Was Diddy trying to match or replace Tupac's status while behind bars for a sexual abuse conviction, a case which itself remains mired in claims of setup and FBI surveillance? Tupac fumed. He believed Biggie and Bad Boy not only betrayed him, but stood to gain from his downfall. Shortly after his release, thanks to $1.5 million in bail, paid by Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight Tupac, officially joined Death Row and declared war. At the 1995 Source Awards, Suge Knight fanned the flames, publicly mocking Diddy come to Death Row if you don't want your executive dancing in all your videos. This wasn't just about music anymore, it was personal, public, and deadly. In 1996, Tupac released Hit 'Em Up, a brutal diss track aimed squarely at Biggie and Bad Boy. First off, fuck your back and the click you claim. Tupac claimed to have slept with Faith Evans, Biggie's wife, a claim she denies to this day. The music video portrayed Biggie as a pig and Diddy in a ballerina outfit. The disrespect was maximal. Was Tupac's anger genuine or manipulated? In an interview, Tupac hinted that Suge Knight convinced him Bad Boy was plotting against him, playing on his fears and paranoia. And yet even then, Tupac said, "I see myself as a big brother to Biggie. I'm mad because he disrespected me, not because he made it." Some industry veterans insist Tupac and Biggie could have reconciled. They say the feud escalated because Suge Knight and Diddy fanned the flames for their own gain, power, money dominance. Insiders say Diddy constantly refused to de-escalate, instead focusing on publicity and revenue. He even allegedly pushed Biggie to go to L.A. just 6 months after Tupac's murder, despite numerous death threats. Why? Was it business pressure? Or did he know something Biggie didn't? On September 7, 1996, Tupac was gunned down in Las Vegas after a Mike Tyson fight. The shooter fired 14 shots. Tupac was hit 4 times and died 6 days later. Witnesses told police the shooter was Orlando Anderson, a known Crip affiliated with Keefe D, the man who in 2023 was arrested and confessed to orchestrating the hit. And what did Keefe D claim? Diddy offered $1 million to kill Tupac and Suge Knight. That money, he said, never arrived. Tupac's death devastated hip-hop. But 6 months later, Biggie was also gunned down in Los Angeles, a near-identical ambush at a red light. Now the stakes have changed. 2 of the greatest artists in music history were dead. Was this a coincidence, a retaliation, or a cleanup operation? Why did Diddy release Who Shot Ya so soon after Tupac's shooting? Why did he pressure Biggie to visit L.A. despite credible death threats? Did Diddy's desire for control and status override the safety of his artists? If Keefe D's claims are true, why hasn't Diddy been charged? Was the feud genuine or manufactured by 2 moguls for profit? After Tupac Shakur was gunned down in Las Vegas, many believed the storm had passed. But it was only the calm before the final blow. Less than 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, the notorious B.I.G. was murdered in Los Angeles in a manner eerily similar to Tupac's killing. The man once seen as Diddy's prodigy Biggie Smalls was shot 4 times while sitting in the passenger seat of a Chevy Suburban. He was just 24. Was it retaliation or something more sinister? Behind the scenes, Biggie was reportedly trying to leave Bad Boy Records. According to former bodyguard Gene Deal, Biggie had hired lawyers to negotiate his release, regain control of his publishing rights, and go independent. He wanted artistic freedom. He wanted ownership. Most of all, he wanted distance from the East Coast, West Coast chaos that was consuming the rap world. So what stopped him? Many allege that Diddy refused to let go both of the artist and the potential fortune tied to Biggie's brand. Gene Deal claims, Diddy said, "I will never give up his publishing rights until I'm dead, and my bones are crushed into powder." Why such a dramatic declaration over a business deal? Was it about legacy or control? Biggie's death mirrored Tupac's in multiple unsettling ways. Both were shot at stoplights in drive-by shootings. Both were accompanied by their record label bosses, Tupac with Suge Knight, Biggie with Diddy. In both cases, the artists were not supposed to be there. Tupac had nearly canceled his trip to Vegas, and Biggie had begged not to go to L.A. Gene Deal states that Biggie didn't want to travel, still recovering from a recent car accident, and struggling with anxiety after Tupac's death. He had even scheduled a press run in Europe to promote his upcoming album, Life After Death, but Diddy canceled it and allegedly insisted he travel to Los Angeles instead. Was this a naive business move or part of a bigger plan? On March 8, 1997, Bad Boy Records hosted a high-profile Vibe magazine after-party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Gene Deal, who was Diddy's personal bodyguard, claims he pleaded with Diddy for more security fearing an attack. According to Deal, everyone knew Biggie was the target, not Diddy, not Maze, Biggie, so why weren't precautions taken? And why did Diddy reportedly insist Gene Deal ride in his car that night? Not Biggie's Deal says Diddy told him, "You ride with me, or you never work again." Mere minutes later, Biggie's SUV was ambushed. A black Chevy Impala pulled alongside the Suburban and opened fire. 4 shots hit Biggie, killing him instantly. The shooter never caught. Following Biggie's murder, Diddy's career skyrocketed. His tribute single, I'll Be Missing You, became a global hit, and his debut album, No Way Out, went 7x platinum. Critics and fans alike say he gained money, fame, and legacy all under the guise of grief. Some say this was the birth of Diddy the Mogul, but others suggest it was a carefully orchestrated reinvention at the ultimate cost. Did Biggie's murder serve as damage control for Diddy? Tupac was dead. Accusations were flying. The public needed a grieving partner, not a suspected puppet master. And suddenly Diddy was that partner. One of the most chilling allegations comes from Keefe D, a gang affiliate arrested in 2023 for Tupac's murder. In interviews before his arrest, Keefe claimed, "If Puff had just paid me my money, I would have stayed silent." According to Keefe, Diddy offered $1 million to have Tupac and Suge Knight killed, but the money was never delivered. Keefe says that betrayal led him to begin speaking publicly in podcasts, books, and interviews, all on record. Yet Diddy has never responded directly to these claims. When asked about Tupac's murder on the Breakfast Club podcast, Diddy's demeanor changed entirely. The once charismatic media giant turned silent, rigid as a statue. "We don't talk about nonsense," he said. "We're not even gonna go there. Why wouldn't an innocent man want to clear his name?" This theory, while controversial, is echoed by multiple insiders, that Biggie knew too much. That Biggie was preparing to leave Bad Boy. That keeping Biggie alive meant prolonging the East Coast-West Coast war and possibly exposing Diddy's own alleged involvement in Tupac's death. A dead Biggie, tragic as it was, meant no one left to talk. It also cemented Diddy's narrative, the survivor, the mogul who lost his best friend and turned grief into global success. But is that what really happened years later, after disturbing footage of Diddy violently assaulting Cassie, his former partner, in a hotel hallway surfaced? The internet reevaluated everything. Thousands of comments flooded "I'll Be Missing You" on YouTube, making a tribute song for the man you murdered that's next level evil. Every move Diddy makes now feels calculated. I used to feel his pain. Now I just see a performance. Even Biggie's own mother, Valletta Wallace, once said, "I believe Sean loved my son after he was dead." Why did Biggie's own security warn Diddy about threats, yet he ignored them? Why was Diddy so insistent on Biggie attending that party in LA? Why did Diddy allegedly prevent Gene Deal from riding with Biggie that night? If Biggie had survived and left Bad Boy, what secrets would he have exposed? Did Diddy protect himself by silencing the only witness left? As questions around the deaths of Tupac and Biggie continued to swirl, Sean Diddy Combs built an empire. From music to fashion to liquor brands, Diddy branded himself as the face of black excellence, wealth, and resilience. But behind the suits, the mogul status, and the smiles on red carpets, a darker narrative was taking shape, one of manipulation, silence, and alleged abuse that would take decades to surface. Now, with criminal investigations and civil lawsuits piling up, we must ask, has the mask finally slipped? Diddy's public persona shifted many times, from Puff Daddy to Pi Diddy, and later to Brother Love. Each reinvention was marked by a new sound, a new business venture, or a public tragedy. But those close to him, allege a consistent pattern of manipulation and control behind the scenes. Former Bad Boy artists, employees, and insiders began to speak out, many after Cassie Ventura, Diddy's longtime partner, filed a bombshell lawsuit in late 2023, alleging years of sexual abuse, human trafficking, drugging, and physical violence. The case was settled within 24 hours. Why so fast? What was being hidden? Cassie's civil suit sent shockwaves through the industry. The detailed 35-page filing accused Diddy of physical beatings, including black eyes and broken bones, forcing her to have sex with male escorts while he watched and filmed, drugging her and threatening her life if she spoke out, destroying evidence and threatening retaliation. While Diddy denied all accusations, the surveillance footage leaked months later, showing him beating Cassie in a hotel hallway, made the public question everything. In the video, he violently shoves her to the ground, kicks her, and tries to drag her back, visibly enraged. This wasn't just a rumor anymore. Cassie's case gave voice to others. Freddie P., a former artist from MTV's Making the Band, broke his silence, alleging that Diddy destroyed his mental health and career. "I lost everything. People say I'm bitter. No, I'm broken." Freddie P. claimed Diddy used psychological manipulation threats and control tactics to isolate artists, making them dependent on him for survival. He's not alone. Several other artists, including Aubrey O'Day, Danity Kane, and Mark Curry, have stated that Bad Boy was more like a cult than a label. Aubrey said he told us we were nothing without him, that no one else would want us. This is perhaps one of the most chilling questions. Where are they? Total disbanded. 112 disbanded. Loon went to prison, converted to Islam, later denounced the industry. Black Rob died in poverty. G-Dep turned himself in for a decades-old murder, now in prison. Craig Mack joined a religious cult before dying in obscurity. Mace became a pastor and now openly accuses Diddy of theft. Is this just a coincidence or a consistent pattern of destruction? Even Machine Gun Kelly, one of the few successful modern signings, left Diddy to form his own label. Diddy still owns the publishing rights for most of these artists, profiting off their music long after they've faded from the spotlight. Several insiders, including former bodyguard Gene Deal and writer, journalist Mickey Turner, have stated that Diddy has an obsession with dominance. He reportedly used surveillance to monitor partners, kept entire teams employed solely to manage his image and clean up scandals, displayed signs of retroactive jealousy, especially toward Tupac, allegedly trying to sleep with Tupac's ex-girlfriends to one-up him. This need for dominance wasn't just sexual, it was professional, emotional, and reputational. One former producer said Diddy's hobby is Diddy. He wakes up and thinks about himself until he sleeps. His empire is built on fear. Long before lawsuits, another tragedy followed Diddy: the City College crowd crush in 1991. Diddy had organized a celebrity basketball game that became wildly oversold, and security protocols were ignored. When fans rushed in, a stampede broke out, killing 9 people, including Jason Mizell's brother Jason, being better known as Jam Master Jay from Run DMC. Witnesses allege that Diddy fled the scene and later tried to deflect responsibility. He was never held accountable, and the incident was buried beneath his rising fame. Jason Mizell's brother said, "I lost my best friend that day." Diddy never said sorry. Is this a pattern of evading consequences? Surprisingly, very few. Even Biggie's own mother, Valletta Wallace, spoke out after the Cassie video emerged. "I don't want to believe the things I've heard, but I've seen the video. I pray I never see Sean again. But if I do, I want to slap the daylights out of him. His former employees gone, his roster of artists empty, his critics growing. Even celebrities like 50 Cent, Aubrey O'Day, and Young Miami have taken subtle or direct shots at Diddy, publicly distancing themselves or outright accusing him of abuse, theft, and manipulation. Some netizens suggest Diddy is not simply falling apart, he's being taken down. Why now? Is this the natural fallout of decades of misconduct, or is someone bigger pulling the strings, using Diddy as the sacrificial lamb? There's also the fact that Diddy is being investigated for for potential federal sex trafficking charges, which could involve RICO laws if multiple accomplices are named. Is the Cassie settlement just the tip of the iceberg? Why have so many people around Diddy either vanished, disbanded, or self-destructed? Why did Diddy settle Cassie's explosive lawsuit in 24 hours? Why do multiple insiders, artists, and legal experts allege a pattern of control abuse and silence? Can a man who once embodied black excellence have built it on the backs of the broken? For nearly 3 decades, the murder of Tupac Shakur remained one of hip-hop's most infamous cold cases. A cultural icon gunned down at the peak of his influence with the world watching and no justice served. But in late 2023, the case cracked wide open. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a known Compton gang leader, and the uncle of Tupac's alleged shooter, Orlando Anderson, was arrested. He was charged with orchestrating Tupac's 1996 murder, and he made one explosive claim that threatened to blow the entire industry open. Diddy offered me $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. Suddenly, Sean Diddy Combs wasn't just the center of entertainment gossip. He became the subject of federal speculation. Keefe D had long been associated with the Southside Crips and had already boasted about his role in Tupac's death in multiple interviews, podcasts, and a memoir. In 2009, while facing major drug charges, Keefe D allegedly made a deal with federal agents to share what he knew about the Tupac shooting. That deal is what brought us here. According to Keefe D, he was in the white Cadillac the night Tupac was shot. His nephew Orlando Anderson fired the fatal shots after a brawl with Tupac at the MGM Grand. The motive wasn't just revenge, it was money allegedly promised by Diddy. The Las Vegas Police Department had this information for over a decade, yet did nothing. Why and who was protecting who? Keefe D's statements point directly to Diddy as the mastermind who placed $1 million bounty on Tupac's head, and possibly Suge Knight's too. In his interviews, Keefe D says, "Puff was scared. He told me, 'Handle that business for me. I'll give you $1 million.' I never got paid, man, but that's how it went down." He even claimed he attended Diddy's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony, hoping to confront him and collect. But Diddy was never questioned by police. No charges were filed. Keefe D's words alone, without hard proof, weren't enough. Yet public interest reignited. Because if what Keefe said is true, what would Diddy gain? Remove Tupac, the biggest threat to his top artist Biggie. Eliminate the West Coast leader, Suge Knight, who was rumored to have violent beef with Diddy. Cement Bad Boy Records as the top label in hip-hop. And then 6 months after Tupac's murder, Biggie is killed too. Diddy has always publicly denied involvement in Tupac's murder. On The Breakfast Club, he called the allegations nonsense and refused to discuss them further. But critics pointed to his body language, a frozen expression, nervous pen movements, and wondered, if he's innocent, why not defend himself louder? Former bodyguard Gene Deal claims Diddy told him during the East Coast-West Coast War, "I don't care if Pac gotta die. I don't care if Big gotta die. Something's gotta change." That quote has been burned into Reddit threads, YouTube comment sections, and court documents. Meanwhile, Tupac's family has hired celebrity attorney Alex Spiro, known for representing Elon Musk, Jay-Z, and Megan Thee Stallion, to investigate Diddy's alleged role in the murder. This is no longer internet lore. It's a real legal pursuit. As Keefe D awaits trial, the world watches closely. There's no direct evidence linking Diddy to payment, no cash trail, no written contract. But the pattern of people around Diddy dying, disappearing, or being silenced raises questions. Biggie's death remains unsolved. Theories abound that Diddy knew it was coming or even arranged it to quiet suspicion and keep publishing rights. And while most of the people who could implicate Diddy are either dead or quiet, Keefe D says this: "If he would have just paid me half, I would have stayed loyal." Now he's talking. Why was Diddy's name mentioned so many times over the years, yet never investigated? If Keefe D is lying, what would he gain from dragging Diddy down now? Is it possible that two of hip-hop's greatest legends were killed? For money and power. For years, Sean Diddy Combs styled himself as a mogul, a visionary, and most recently Brother Love. But in 2024, the facade crumbled. What began as rumors and hushed allegations has exploded into full-blown legal and cultural reckoning. It's no longer about just Tupac or Biggie. It's about a pattern, a trail of manipulation, abuse, and unchecked power. The reckoning began when singer Cassie Cassandra Ventura, Diddy's former partner, filed a civil lawsuit in late 2023 alleging rape, sex trafficking, and years of physical abuse. The lawsuit was settled in just one day, but it opened the floodgates. In the months that followed, multiple accusers came forward with similar allegations. Federal agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami in early 2024. Investigations into sex trafficking, drug distribution, and gun violations began. Sources close to the Department of Homeland Security confirmed that Diddy is a person of interest in a multi-state criminal probe. His private jets, phones, and financial records are under scrutiny. The entertainment world, once Diddy's stage, began turning on him. His Brother Love persona was mocked as manipulative PR. Brands like Ciroc and Revolt began distancing themselves. Former artists, producers, and even security guards publicly condemned his behavior. His ex-artist Freddie P. said, "This ain't revenge, this is the truth. He's always had too much power and no accountability." And Biggie's mother, Valletta Wallace, once silent, spoke out after the Cassie assault video surfaced. "If I see him, I want to slap the daylights out of him." Once seen as a pioneer who helped bring hip-hop into the mainstream, Diddy's legacy now hangs in limbo. Yes, he launched careers, he changed music, but at what cost? Behind the chart-topping hits and lavish lifestyles was allegedly a man obsessed with control, fame, and dominance. Former insiders say everything in Diddy's world revolved around Diddy. The artists he elevated most left him disillusioned. The deals he made often laced with NDAs and exploitative terms. His love for Biggie now viewed through a darker, opportunistic lens. For victims both known and unnamed, justice may finally be on the horizon. But the process is slow. Civil suits take years. Criminal charges require evidence. And Diddy, with his billions and influence, is still fighting back. Yet the cultural tide is shifting. As more people speak, silence loses power. Tupac once said, "I believe in karma. What you do, bad comes back to you." After decades of silence, fear, and conspiracy, it seems karma may finally be calling on Diddy.